Hello, in this video we're going to cover operate inside, and we're going to go to our practice parcel area and try to accomplish the same thing we did earlier in the training, where we took the information from SPI-THP-RIS and added it to the corresponding regen polygon. Using operate inside is a little bit safer in some respects because it's going to take care of all that attribute information at one time, so there's a little bit less clicking, copying, pasting where you might miss one or make a mistake like that. So let's go ahead and first run through a couple different tools, so just try to follow along here. I'm going to select all of these SPI-THP RISs, select geographic inside land class, press OK, and now I'm going to copy those, edit geographic copy to a new layer. Let's call that temp. Okay, so for now, let's go to that temp, select all the temp, EAB. We want to clear out this C1. I like to just use the expression editor and press OK. So now we have basically a starting condition. Everything's empty. So all of that was just the first step in order to get just a bunch of blank. We're kind of basically calling this temp layer is basically like our SPI-THP RIS, but we're just going to pretend that that's SPI-THP RIS for now, or regen actually. And we're going to put all the information from SPI-THP RIS into this temp layer. So to accomplish that, let's just select all of these SPI-THP RISs. I'm just going to open EAB one more time to show you what we have. So we have link label C1, C2, C3, nothing in C4. We have some C5, C6, but since we're building a temporary regen, if you remember from earlier in the training, N1, N2, and N3 from SPI-THP RIS don't apply to regen. These values stand for something else in SPI-THP RIS than they do in regen. So we're not going to need those. Basically what we need is link through C6. We don't really need C4 because there's nothing in there. So now we know what the data is. We have the overlay layer that we want, SPI-THP RIS, and we know that the temp layer is right underneath there. So what we're going to do is operate inside from SPI-THP RIS to the temp layer. So Alt operate inside, OI. So our overlay layer by default is what we have as the selection. So SPI-THP RIS, we're using selected. You could technically do this on an entire layer by just using all. And then we're going to push the data from the overlay layer into the input layer, which is going to be our temp. So here's temp. So it should look like this, and what we want to do is, starting with link, we're just going to populate this. So click and link and label, and we're just choosing the fields that we want to push across. So we decided everything besides C4. So let's go C1 and just go through all of these. We don't need C4, skip that, go to C5, and we want C6. So there it is, link label C1, C2, C3, C5, C6. And what that's saying is, in our input layer, temp, we're going to be filling link label C1, C2, C3, and so on from the overlay layer, and we're using an expression, but the expression in this case is just a field. So we're using link to populate link, label to populate label, C1 to populate C1, and so on. So let's click OK, You can see we have 7 features updated. Click OK. And let's check that data. So remember, we cleared this out so there was nothing in it. And now we have link label all the way through C6 populated. And we didn't copy across N1, N2, N3, which is kind of nice because when we did it before, we had to come back in here and make all of these zeros and then change all of these to threes. So now we can just do that real quick. Expression editor 3 and OK. So N3 equals to 3 is equal to cut. So now we have, and go ahead and click save. So you can see, yeah, we had to click a few buttons, but now we're done. The whole regen, the temp regen was populated with the information from SPI THP RIS. They're 1 for 1, and then we quickly updated N3 equal to 3, and that's it. So operate inside, very powerful. Of course, this is kind of a small example because we just did 7 features, but you can actually do this on an entire layer. So for instance, you could take all the parcel data and put all of that parcel data into every single feature inside of parcel. You could do it from a polygon into a point. So if you had like a spring feature in here. Here's a spring, here's a land class. We know land class has C1, operate inside, into spring. We're going to do C1 to C1, or actually let's do C1 to, or sorry, let's put C1 into link. So here's C1 from land class is going to go into link. If I hit OK, one feature updated. Let's select this spring. So there you see, M is populated from a polygon to a point. And of course, using it for one feature doesn't really make sense, but you see the power of it is that you could do it from one layer to another layer and push a lot of data back and forth. Okie dokie. Thank you.